Today's top stories at NBR. King Salmon posts $73 million loss. A working group says the legal definition of employee should be revised. The court knocks back Alex Van Heeren, and there's more coming right up. Kia ora and welcome to NBR Today, 100% subscriber funded and proudly brought to you by you, as is every story at nbr.co.nz. It's Wednesday, April 13th. I'm Paul Brennan. Thanks again for joining us. The Reserve Bank has increased the official cash rate from 1 to 1.5% as it continues to worry about growing inflationary pressures. In Wednesday's Monetary Policy Review, it said the bank's Monetary Policy Committee agreed moving the OCR to a more neutral stance sooner would reduce the risk of rising inflation expectations. The committee made its decision today, Wednesday, as the food price index recorded an annual increase of 7.9%, the highest increase since the year ended July 2011, which was largely driven by the increase in GST from 12.5 to 15%. Inflation was 5% last year, and the Consumer Price Index for the year to the end of March will be released next Thursday. Some economists are picking inflation will go above 7% this year, but opinion had been divided about whether the bank should have raised the cash rate by 25 or 50 basis points. New Zealand King Salmon has posted a $73 million loss for the year to January 31st, 2022, despite lifting sales volumes by 20% compared to the previous 12 months. Impacting the bottom line were unusually high fish mortality from a summer marine heatwave, a hangover from a failed experiment in a new production model that has since been dropped, write-off of goodwill and impairment of assets, and COVID-related supply chain disruptions and higher freight costs, the company said in an NZX announcement today, Wednesday. The fish farmer also announced an underwritten $60.1 million 2.85 for 1 pro rata renounceable rights offer at an issue price of 15 cents per share. It says proceeds of the rights offer will be used to deleverage the balance sheet and provide liquidity for medium-term operating needs. The announcement follows the company requesting a trading halt in its shares Wednesday morning. The founder of dual-listed trucking tech company eRoad left for personal reasons, and his unexpected departure interrupted a planned transition, company chair Graham Stewart says. eRoad Wednesday morning released a leadership and quarterly operational update to the NZX following the surprise immediate departure of its chief executive, founder and board member Stephen Newman last Friday. Newman's exit saw the company's share price fall by a quarter from $4.23 before the announcement to close at $3.18 Tuesday. Wednesday, its share price briefly rebounded about 10 cents, with the NZX announcement including a statement from Newman saying he remained a committed and confident significant shareholder in the business. But later in the day, it had fallen a further 18 cents to $3 following a company briefing. According to the company's office, Newman holds 12.25% of eRoad shares via his control of the NMC Investment Trust. The legal definition of employee should be revised to clearly distinguish that type of worker from a contractor, a joint industry-government working group says. The report of the tripartite working group on better protections for vulnerable contract workers is finally out, and NBR understands its recommendations are government's next employment reform priority. The definition of employee should include a strong contrast to someone who is genuinely in business for themselves, the report says. The working group, made up of Business NZ, the Council of Trade Unions and the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, MB, reported back to Workplace Relations Minister Michael Wood in December, but its findings have only been made public now. The report also recommends that decisions in individual employment cases should be allowed to cover other workers for the same employer who are working under similar conditions, even if it's only one worker who has sought the judicial decision. The Court of Appeal has knocked back claims of impecuniosity by businessman Alex Van Heeren and denied his bid to help cover more than $11 million in legal costs from a US $25 million payment he made to the court in part of a long-running dispute with his former business partner. A judgment released Wednesday provides the latest in a decades-long legal battle between Van Heeren and the late Michael Kidd, his former business partner. They've locked horns since over whether they were even business partners, how much each was owed, and what right Kidd had to any of their disputed shared assets. The High Court at Auckland was left with the latter two questions after its South African counterpart in Johannesburg ruled in 2014 the men had been in a partnership, contrary to Van Heeren's denials. Electricity company Trustpower, soon to be renamed Manoa Energy, has announced a $110 million special dividend for shareholders after the sale of its retail business to Mercury Energy completes on May 1st. In a statement confirming its proposed leverage and dividend payout targets, Trustpower Manoa said it would pay a one-off, unimputed special dividend of 35 cents a share, subject to the sale completion. On April 4th, the company confirmed all conditions for the $441 million sale had been met and the deal would complete at the month end. Thereafter, Manoa Energy will be a pure electricity generator with about 5% of the country's generation capacity. The full details of those stories and more are at nbr.co.nz right now. Coming up at NBR in his column Hunter's Corner on Friday, Tim Hunter looks at NZME's slippery position on executive pay, while in her weekly column, Rachel Smalley talks about why there are concerns over the French presidential election race. I'm Paul Brennan. Join me again from around lunchtime tomorrow for the morning's NBR trending stories, then again from 5:30 for another NBR Today.